Hey, hey, hey. Shout out to all my CRNAs. Listen, we know CRNAs get paid, okay? But as you learn through your entrepreneurial journey, it's not really about the money, it's about buying back your time. And that's what moves us towards becoming an entrepreneur. Today, we have the honor of talking to Dr. Aisha Allen, a CRNA who is strategic in chasing her dreams and getting to the bag. Aisha discusses how she strategically dreams about where she wants to be and then reverse engineers the steps backwards to make it happen. She's back after spending 2 years working, traveling, and living in Japan to managing her Airbnb and real estate properties while teaching other nurses how to make strategic investments to ditch the bedside. This is an episode you don't want to miss.
Welcome everyone to the Nurse Boss Shift. I am excited because we have a special guest, but first let's do our introductions. It is me, Dr. Kiiyonna Jones, extraordinaire, and your girl.
And I'm Christal Parker.
Christal Parker, and we have a very, very, very special guest that we are bringing into the Nurse Boss Shift to talk to us about her shift and her journey and like all the things that she has done and all the people that she has helped. And you guys know we absolutely love nurses who reach back and bring other nurses with them. So Miss Aisha Allen, welcome. Yay! We don't have the clappers yet. Welcome, Miss Aisha. CRNA, can you just really quickly give, if you were to give a little elevator pitch about yourself and tell our audience who you are and what you got going on?
Yeah, I can do that. So I'm gonna get like you. My name's Dr. Aisha Allen. You know, yes. I got my doctorate too out here. Yeah, period. So I like to, my elevator pitch, and I think that everyone in business who is in business needs one. By trade, I'm a nurse anesthetist or nurse anesthesiologist. Anytime I'm outside of the operating room, though, I am fully engaged in either real estate investing or coaching nurses on how to leave the bedside. And when I say leave the bedside or ditch the bedside, it's not like nursing is bad or anything like that. It's just really about having a plan outside of the hospital, outside of clocking in, outside of overtime. And that's really what I'm about.
Yes. I love that you said it. Okay, one of the common themes with nurses, and I know that we are biased, and of course our pool that we're selecting from are already entrepreneurs, but one of the common themes really is leaving the bedside. And then we always like, and I too, and even Christal, she does it too, like when we talk about leave, it's like, it's not horrible. It's such a weird relationship we have with the bedside. It's like, yes. For real, I did a whole TikTok on like the state of nursing, and I put some stats, and of course they were just like talking about burnout and racism and this and that. And then I get a comment from a follower, and she's like, oh my God, and I'm about to graduate in a year. I'm like, but it's okay. Like, you should. Right. It's such a rewarding career.
Right. And I feel like, and I told myself I wouldn't have to like explain myself all the time going forward, but I do feel like there does need to be an explanation. Nursing isn't bad. Yeah. I wouldn't be where I am without nursing. It's a great field. You saw nurses in the pandemic, the bandemic, as people called it.
Yeah. Right.
So it's not all bad. It's just going in with a purpose. To me.
Yes. Yeah. And so let's talk about your experience, because I know you were in like first of all, I met Aisha on, Dr. Allen. We're going to get this correct. Okay. Right. I met Dr. Allen on Instagram, following her journey, CRNA. And then I saw you started doing like real estate and then short-term rentals. And I was like, oh my gosh, she is so dope. Like, and your reels were amazing, very entertaining, like really, really touching the pain points, the like highs and lows of nursing. And then you are a part of an elite group of nurses, I consider, because I feel like, and we'll talk about this a little later. I don't want to go into that. Never mind. But the point is, I wanted to ask you, can you elaborate? Tell us your journey, and was it always your plan to be where you are right now?
Yeah, good question. So when I went into nursing, I applied to nursing school literally 2 days before the deadline. I was originally in undergrad at VCU, Commonwealth, Virginia Commonwealth, 2 up, 2 down. And I was studying mass communications and graphic design. And I was like, it's 2008 had just come about and people were like struggling to find jobs and all of that. And I was like, wait a second, I want something a little bit more secure, period. And I was doing in high school at the time, I was doing athletic training. And then I came about nursing at my school, and it was one of the top programs. And right before I applied, I started looking at like, what else can I do? Like, because I'm a Caribbean, first woman, first daughter in a Caribbean family.
Oh.
So education is like, it's expected. There's no like, oh, I'm going to go. No. So it was like, okay, what grad school are you going to? So I did some research. And at the time, back in 2009, all that really came up was CRNA school and nurse practitioner school. So I'm about my money, have always been about my check. And I was like, how much does this make? I'm gonna keep it real. People hate when I say this. And I looked at what this made, and CRNA made blankety blank blank, 6 figures easy back then, 2009. I said, oh, true. That's where I'm going. I didn't know if I was going to like it. I knew it was science. I knew this and that. Cool. And so I applied. That was my impetus to apply. That's how I started and got into nursing. I applied 2 days before the deadline. I got accepted. I had great grades. I knew I was going to get in. I played college soccer at the time. And if you hear me now, I don't mince words. I know what I bring to the table. I knew I was getting in.
Period.
Okay. And so I got in. It was very hard. Actually, I don't even like using the word hard. It was challenging balancing full-time soccer, D1 athlete, and nursing school. But I had coaches that knew that I was about my business, and athletics wasn't my end all be all. It was education and a job and a trade. Because to me, it's a trade. And so I got in that way. And then once I realized and started nursing, graduated in 2013, I was like, oh, you can work more shifts and make more money. Like, where in life does this exist? Like, this is dope. And you can hop around from this unit to this unit. I'd heard about the whisperings of nursing informatics and this. And I said, oh, okay, well, I got to keep on my way. I want to be a nurse anesthetist. I need to get into an ICU as soon as possible. But that didn't happen. So I just took the first job was a step down unit, and I was still applying for ICU jobs. And then the time came, someone said, sure. And 6 months later, I was in an ICU. But that was like the beginning of my nursing journey.
Yeah, I love that. And see how when you, and Christal, you can tell me what you think about this too. But like, I always say, when you know where you want to go, you just reverse engineer that back. And that applies to business as well. Not enough people have their goal in mind, or they have it in mind, but they're not locked in on it. They change with the weather. Instead of, I say your vehicle may change, your route may change, but don't change the destination. And so you didn't get into ICU directly. It still was on your agenda. You went to PCU or step down first. You still got to ICU. You didn't change your destination. You just had to detour. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. It's like when I have that goal, nothing is stopping me until I reach that. And I think that kind of seems like the characteristics of business owners as well, like you said, and nurses. It's like, we know where we want to go. We know where we want to be. And even though or if we're in a situation that feels uncomfortable, we can maintain it for a little bit longer because we know where we're trying to get to. So I think that's so important.
That is so important what you just said, Christal, because I feel like, and Dr. Allen, you can comment on this. I feel like nurses are so miserable because they don't see a way out. They haven't set themselves up to plan their exit strategy. Because I know when I was working on that COVID unit for those 8 weeks, baby, I was like, I didn't let nothing stress me out. Because guess what? I got a plan. I know where I'm going. I think the unhappiness and the misery also stems from where I'm going. This is it. Like, this is what I want to
feel stuck. It's so miserable. when you feel stuck, it's so miserable.
So huge.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Allen.
And I think I agree. Yeah, no, I agree with you because I'm thinking about all the time the hard spots in my life where everyone was so miserable, military included.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I've always had, I knew that was not permanent. I was about to cuss. I knew that ish was not permanent.
It's one of those shows.
Like,
we got to be able to cuss, girl.
Okay.
We wouldn't make it. I wouldn't.
Like I was 22, 23, and you know, these nurses have been bedside for 20, 30 years looking at me sideways because I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to CRNA school. Big mistake, anyone, by the way. Like, don't tell people your business. Like, I learned, because I'm a person like, oh, well, let's do it together.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, they're like, we're going to stop her, which if you follow me long enough, I talked about that. But if you have no plan, everything around you is going to consume you. That's your whole life. Everything right there in that unit, that trash talking coworker, blah, blah, blah. Nah, I went home and was studying my GRE and studying for my CCRN. I don't care what you said.
Right.
You know, military. Oh, I'm leaving in 2 years. This was a 3-year plan so I could get this degree paid for. I don't know what you thought this was. I'm out.
I love that.
Right. So I agree with you.
Yeah. And so back, you mentioned the military and I wanted to talk about that too. What did the military do for you? And I love, it's so strategic with you. And I think we all should be that way. We don't get any do-overs. We can't rewind. We can't get that day back. So tell me, how did you include that in your strategy to get to where you were trying to go?
And that's the word. Like I used to have strategic plan in my bio before people started copying what I was putting in there, but that's okay. It's all strategy. Literally everything that I do has some reason. I planned it out that way.
Yeah.
When I was applying for nursing school, when I was sitting on that computer, I remember I was in my bed at home. It was cold as heck. And I was sitting there typing and I was like, well, how much is CRNA school? And the numbers, I was like, excuse me? No. Like, I'm scared. Like, I could not, like, no. And so I was like, well, how do I pay? Like, literally Googled, how can I pay for CRNA school? And at the time, the Veterans Affairs scholarship popped up. And I hope people are taking notes if this is your, like, what you want to do. Veterans Affairs scholarship and then the military. And I was like, well, I don't want to go straight into the military. What other scholarships are there? And there's HPSP, so Health Profession Scholarship Program. And I was like, okay, well, that's the way. Check. And I will say this, if let's say I didn't get accepted into those scholarship programs, I still would have went, just because it's worth it for me. And so at that time, I looked up the HPSP scholarship and it said, you can go to a civilian school. We'll just pay that civilian school and you owe back that time or that money through active duty service. And so literally 2009, I was looking for the HPSP program. The only reason why I ended up doing that and not the Veterans Affairs, because Veterans Affairs just requires 3 years of service to the VA hospitals.
Is that the one in San Antonio?
Well, you can go anywhere.
Oh, okay.
You can go anywhere. Yeah, any VA.
No, the program, their VA program. I mean, their CRNA program. Is that the one in Texas?
Oh, no. So that's a different one.
Oh, okay.
So that one, you're going directly into the military, and that is not for me.
Okay.
Like, I want to do as little, there's going to be some veterans on here that don't like this. I want to do as little time active duty as possible. Little. And so my program, I went to civilian school. I didn't have a uniform. I didn't know how to salute, like nothing, until it was time for me to go active duty. And when I was accepted into school, they actually closed the VA program. That, like, they took the funding away. And I was like, well, reroute. I guess I'm going to HPSP. And so that's where the military came in. That was the strategy behind that. It was 3 years. The other programs require like 6 years. They're Army. I was Air Force only. That was strategy too.
Yeah, right.
I knew the life I wanted to live. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's how that went.
Okay. So, all right. So you were strategic with your military endeavors, and you did 4 years only. Did you do
trace?
It's only
3 years.
3
I just finished October.
Oh, it's only 3 years required. I don't know why I thought
HPSP. Oh, HPSP is only 3 years. Yes.
Oh.
So when I tell you I knew in 2022 I'd be out, that's what I planned for.
Wow. That's dope right there. I love that.
And we were talking a little bit before we started. Tell us where you just were at for the 3 years.
Oh, yeah. So I just spent the last 2 years in Japan. I was living in Tokyo. Right. And I'll tell you a little about that. People would tell, I was like, I want to live overseas when I'm in the military. Like, that was a plan of mine. And people were like, well, that's never going to happen. You have to be in the military for a long time. That's never going to happen. 8 months in, I was living in Las Vegas. They said, we need volunteers to go to Japan. Boop. October 2020, I was moved to Japan. And I wish, I'm not that petty. I'm kind of petty. But I wanted to be like, see, I told you. And then I moved to Japan.
Yes.
So my question then, because you're doing, let's get into your entrepreneurial side.
Yeah.
So when you started, you knew you wanted to do CRNA. Did you know when you started that you wanted to be a nurse, an entrepreneur? Or is that something that, let's talk about that, because this is where the shift happens, right? So it's like,
yes,
a lot of us make our goal, like my goal was CNO, I thought. Right? When I first started, I was like, okay, I want to be a CNO. I want to, thinking about entrepreneurship, I had no one to show me that was even an option at the time. So I just wanted to be at the top. CRNA was on my list too, except I did a shadow day. I did 2. And I was like, all they doing is sitting down behind these people. This is boring. I'm not going to be able to do it. But I actually applied to USC. I got to the second interview, but in between that time, they wanted you to have shadow. Like, you had to have that on your application. And that's when I shadowed, and I was like, okay, the money is so good, right? But this is going to be some boring shit. And for me, I knew I could not do it. And I was like, money, like happy, like, okay, I'm going to be unhappy. So I had to let that go. So then I was like, the CNO is going to be the route that I took. But I never considered entrepreneurship. So, and becoming a business owner, where did that shift happen for you though? Like, was it once you became a CRNA? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah, like you, it was never in my mind. It was like, I'm going to be a CRNA and the money is good. And I was young at that. I was like 18. Like, I was like, the money's going to be great. Because my purpose, and I went into it for a stable income, 100K a year. That's top 1%. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll be good. And then I started working and in the ICU, and I had some real haters, some big haters in there. I just hated that I was very bold and willing to, dare and be different and show up fully. And I was like, I hate working with y'all. Y'all are really annoying. And I was like, okay, being a CRNA, that's still shift work. Like, let's keep it a buck. That's still shift work. Whether or not you're 1099, whether or not you're self-employed, it's great money. That's $220, $250 an hour. Like, I also won't, play about that because we're speaking numbers.
Yes.
But when I thought about it and I said, oh, I still have to exchange Aisha Allen's time. I have to walk into a hospital, do what someone else tells me, take this patient, stay this long. Yeah, I'm getting paid. When I could really be doing other things that I like, which is traveling, eating at restaurants, all those things, seeing my family, my friends. And I said, how do I leverage my time better? Like, I like this, but I want to spend more time doing other things. And in CRNA school, and when you're around doctors, your eyes are opened up to a completely different world. These are people making $500,000 easy. Half the time we were talking about anesthesia, but the other time I'm hearing them walk in, yo, did you see the stock market today? Oh, last weekend we took our boat out, me and the kids. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? Because I'm sitting here thinking that CRNAs are just boring. We're sitting back, look, people on their little iPads. No, these people are looking at their stocks and they're talking about, oh yeah, I just worked 2 shifts last week. That's it. And that for me, it like kicked in. And I said, oh, y'all have it figured out. And I started inquiring more about what they're doing. And it was real estate. It was sometimes like owning necessary businesses like the coffee. A lot of them invested in outpatient centers and things like that. Med spas they were investing in. And when I started doing a little bit more research, I was like, okay, real estate. That was a common denominator between everybody. And
Yeah.
I will not recreate the wheel. I will figure out a way to make it work. And I just started learning as much as I could about real estate. And that's what I chose. One of the things I chose.
The desire to want more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think how can people who don't have it get it? What do you think about that? Because I'm as we're doing these interviews, we're hearing kind of a theme, and it's like the audacity. So you're audacious. A lot of us hear it, especially now on social.
Take some to notebook. Take some.
Yeah, especially on social, we hear it now more than ever, but we still don't think we can do it. Right? Now it's everywhere, right? You don't have to just be sitting in a break room with other people on the anesthesia team. You can be literally on social media and see it. But the urge to say, of course they can, is especially amongst nurses, I think is a big differentiating factor.
It's a big mindset change. It's a big mindset change too. But I think you have to be exposed to it. I think, there's social media, and I didn't have it. Like, that was not my exposure. It was like, and I do want to preface this by saying I am a very privileged Black woman. My mom just graduated with her doctorate. I was taught to go to school. I grew up watching her with my 3 brothers, 4 of us, staying up at night, getting her degree. We showed up at her graduations. That was my visual. So that's a privilege in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I definitely want to state that I never wanted for food. I never worried about when a meal was coming. And so I didn't have a fight or flight bone in my body necessarily. And so all of that saying, I worked my ass off. I did. But I had it modeled for me in a way. I didn't have entrepreneurship modeled for me at all. But I saw my mom buy a home, and I was like, oh, okay. So home buying is a thing. So I saw that. So I do think there needs to be some type of modeling, but to make it click, and I don't like marketing to pain points at all. I hate like leaning on it too heavily, but I think it has to be like shown in someone's face. Like, do you want to be age 52? Because I talk about this. Age 52 is the average age of nurses. 52.
Yeah.
65 years old being the largest age category of nurses. Do you want to be, and it's registered obviously, but I'm not keeping my license if I'm not using my license. So these people are probably working. So at what age, at age 52, at age 65, what do you actually visualize your life looking like? Are you showing up every day to a job that you're clocking into?
Yeah.
Are you having to ask your manager for time off? Do you have to use PTO when you're sick? Do you want to be able to go to your kids' field trips? Like,
those are all pain points, by the way, Dr. Allen.
They are. I know they are. And I hate I hate having to be like, hey, y'all, look at this. But it's like, what else is there?
They run from pain. You know, you can show them the shiny thing, but the first thing they're gonna do, Dr. Allen, is say, of course you can. They're going to say, you are a CRNA. Yeah, you can take the money and invest in this. You are a CRNA. They're going to find a reason to differentiate you from them. And then they're going to lean on I don't have a CRNA and I don't have this. And that's why, to validate why they haven't gotten up off their ass and did what they needed to do, or work harder, or whatever it takes, They're not going to do that. That's why you have to let them know their pain and remind them so they can run away from that. Because they're not going to run to the good life.
Right.
Because the plan was...
People see these flashy.
Right.
The flash.
The plan was for nursing to be the good life.
Right.
And then you come in. And then you show up this is it.
Right. And it is that mindset shift that you were saying, but the mindset shift is for them to realize that they can do it, because it just seems like it's something in all of us who, we all complain, works hard for everybody, but there's those few of us who are like, no, it can't be this way. I have to do something about it. And I'm just going to give it all that I have and get out there, and do what I'm supposed to do. Or there's the others who sit and complain all the time and they never do anything. So it's just like, how do you have that click? Because
I was agreeing or shaking my head when you were talking about, I worked in the anesthesia pain clinic. So, where we did epidurals for people getting back pain, those anesthesia, same thing. They're ER doctors, because I'm an ER nurse. They're just so busy. So I don't know what they're talking about, but the anesthesia, oh yeah, their golf course, their Porsche, their next real estate investment, where they're going this weekend. And yeah, it's a totally different conversation. And I'm the same too. When someone is making the money or has a life that I want, my ears perk up. What are they doing that I could be doing? What are they doing that I need to study? But some people would just, like you said, Dr. Jones, like, oh, well, they could do it, but I can because of X, Y, and Z. And it just takes that special person that all they need to hear is somebody else doing it. And that's all they need as permission for them to go do it themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think another key point of it is your network. And not just who you're listening to on a podcast. Who are you in communion with? Who are you talking to? Your family may be the reason why you are being held back. And I have to say this so clear because I have friends whose family are telling them, don't do that. Why are you going back to grad school? That's a waste of your money. And it doesn't have to be grad school, but just everything they come up with is a no. And I'm like, you gotta have to stop telling them anything, number one. And so it's like getting into spaces where people are asking more of themselves and also willing to ask more of you. So maybe it's an online network. Maybe you're going to meet and greets, something like that. Like getting in the room, getting in spaces where the conversations are different.
Yes.
I have a question. So in nursing, I kind of alluded to this earlier. CRNAs are like the cream of the crop. And what I mean by that is not to say that one specialty is better than the other, but the money that y'all make, we're going to talk about it. First of all, I clenched my pearls when you said $225 an hour. Okay, let's start there.
Let's start there.
But
yeah.
Okay, so from there to like wanting to become an entrepreneur or free up your time, as you say, is that something that you see? Because we can't, even we say this just as nursing in general, like don't go into nursing for the money, right? Do you feel that way when it comes to CRNA and then even entrepreneurship, to segue into entrepreneurship? Or should we be led by, like, first of all, in my mind, money is not, people make it so taboo, and it's not. Like, it's how we live, it's how we sustain. So what are your thoughts on that?
So the money conversation, I did an interview with EB, RIP, I love EB, a few years ago. And I mentioned that one of the reasons I went into nurse anesthesia was money. And they tried to roast me. I don't care what the internet says. Okay, brokey, I don't care. Like, sorry. We need money to live. If you live in the United States of America and you don't live on an Amish farm where you're bartering,
right,
you have to go exchange money for food, electricity, your internet, your TV, your gas, your car. I could go on. Your clothes. So you can talk to me, oh, don't go into this for the money. Okay, so what am I doing this for? Why am I going to work every day? To earn a paycheck. If your employer all of a sudden said, oh, you're not here for the money, I'll just give your paycheck to Sally Sue. Right. What? Right. It's cool all of a sudden. So that argument to me is irrelevant. I think this is the side of the coin that I operate from. I was living in Japan, like I said, for 2 years, and I learned a lot about this thing called Ikigai.
I got the book. I just showed the book. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah. I read that book. I
got chills thinking about it. I truly learned what that was. And in America, we spend so much time only exchanging for money.
Yeah.
And not getting to explore our loves, not getting to necessarily help communities. Yeah. And I could go on about that. That's a whole other thing. The unique thing about nursing is we get to help our community and make money at the same time.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily love it. And it's okay if you don't. Nurses are demonized for not liking their job. There are people who sit at cubicles who hate their job, but they get paid a lot of money because they're on, investing other people's money, making millions. So when we talk about money, I go into work every day to earn a paycheck. $220 an hour. That's one option. I actually taking a job here in North Carolina that's paying me $1,400 a day.
Wow.
With Medicare patients. I could be making a lot more. And a lot of people actually looked at me like, that's all you working for a whole day? And this is anesthesia money.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, yeah, because it makes me feel good to be working with Medicare dentistry patients. But so going back to your question, when we are exchanging our time for money and we're like, what was your question again?
Yeah, it was just about when people like kind of look at you for making a decision. Yeah, off of money.
Based off money. Yeah. So like saying all that to say, like, you have to be strategic with your time and how are you leveraging your time. So when I looked at those options, nursing, NP, CRNA, and if I'm going to work and I'm going to have to go to work for the next few years, I want to be making the most amount of money for the same amount of time that I'm exchanging. I want to be making more.
Yes.
It's simple ratio to me. So I'm spending 12 hours, maybe, if that's the shift that I'm doing, making $220. Or would I choose to work 12 hours and make 70? And I serve that in front of you. You can make a choice. Now, the ability to get to the $220 an hour is a little bit of a road. It's 3 years now. But that's an investment.
Yeah.
And it was an investment I'm willing to make because now I can leverage those 12 hours that I spent and take a portion of that to go buy a home or invest in an online business or take a vacation. And it takes me less time to get that same amount of money. So that's really what it is.
Right.
Yeah, and people just don't understand, like, I feel like in nursing, and this may not be just only nursing, but because it's a female dominated profession, they always ask us to make decisions off of like emotions. And although we cry with our patients, we go through it, but like the audacity to say, don't do it for money. Like it's almost saying just barely, and this is why nursing is in the state that it's in. COVID opened up the eyes for every industry, first of all, but for nursing, really, because it's like, wait a minute, you really are telling us to shut up and take it and give everything you have, so much so that you're empty when you go home to your family, and then here, take these crumbs. California nurses make this much, Florida nurses make that much. It's like, but they're given the same of themselves.
Crazy.
It cannot be held to the same standard, and it is okay to do it for money, because what else do you have as an incentive? You've given everything.
And you can't complain about it.
Right. Don't post about it on social media. Sorry. Anyways, it's like the virtue signaling. I never subscribe to that crap. Like, yeah, I'm helping this patient in their hardest times, and I'm gonna get paid for it.
Right.
I left my family to come here because really, ultimately, my reason for all of this, the reason I searched for $100,000 job in the beginning was because I wanted to control my time. I saw my mom working her ass off, driving 2 hours to DC because they made the most money. So again, that's where I came from. I watched my mom got to the money, and she drove and commuted.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to do that. I watch people work multiple jobs. I definitely don't want to do that. And so I'm not going, that was my driver. Like, I want to control my time. I want to control where and how and what and how much. And this has allowed me to do that.
Yeah. I love that. And the buying of the time is really essentially what we're doing. And what you have shown, and what I think the biggest takeaway from nurses who are watching this that they need to really pay attention to, it doesn't matter whether you're making the CRNA money or the first thing they want to do is go back to school because they feel like it's going to get them there, and it still may not. So that's why it's so important, because if I always get those questions, should I go back to NP school? Okay, what's your reason? I'm not going to just tell you to go to NP school. If you're saying, I hate having a lot of patients, I overwork, I miss my kids, I'm going to tell you, babe, you need to invest in something that's going to bring in some money and not go into further debt. Because if you're going to work at a clinic, you're about to get 30, 40 patients a day. And
please, y'all, if you're listening, go shadow what you're trying to do. Like Dr. Jones did. She shadowed.
Yeah.
Like, you must figure out, and and go to someone that is doing what you want to do. And that's the real answer for all things in life, really. Don't go to an aesthetics NP if that's not what you want to do, to go see what your life is going to be as an NP, because yours is not going to look like that. And I won't talk about NPs because I'm not an NP, so I'll leave it to your next NP guest. But as a CRNA, I never met a CRNA that didn't like their job. Is that because they're paid well? Probably a big portion of it. Because I'm sitting, like you said, I'm sitting, which that's not all our job is. It looks like it. It looks like it. But we get paid for the most challenging times and to be able to fix it. So what we are paid matches what our knowledge. Because when we are sitting, it looks like we're sitting not doing anything, but we're listening to the heart rate. We're listening to the surgeon go, oh, she's bleeding. And we are looking to see if our patient is breathing well and on the vent. And it does look boring. And I like it boring.
For real. And it's
now,
but you're right though. Like,
give me all the boring jobs.
No, but you're right though. If you're a person that wants to be all up in the thing, that's boring. It could be boring.
And what I know is that you guys get, your pay is commensurate of those, you know, maybe once a day, once a week moments where all shit goes like it goes to Hades, you know, like I understand that. So that's really where, because the knowledge has to be there, the skill, the action, the ability to think on your toes, like you have to switch from looking at that book to and I get it.
Because right now, and I don't want people to scare people, but CRNA is the money is flashy, but when your patient can't breathe and they're blue and they're gray, none of that matters if you can't calm down, take a breath, and figure out that you need to push albuterol and more propofol and whatever, and tell the surgeon to move and everyone else to be quiet and step out the room. Or you got a mom on the table and their husband's right next to you and you got to intubate the mom because it's an emergency section. Like, none of that matters if you can't do your job, because then you'll find yourself out of a job. Knock on wood.
Yes. Okay.
But
so
anyways.
for the business side of this, so now you have your multiple businesses, you have taken and leveraged, and you continue to work as a CRNA, which is amazing. So you have that, and now you have a little more wiggle room. What does life look like for you now?
Yeah, good question. So life looks like I'm not working till 2023 in a hospital. So I got back in October and I haven't set foot into a hospital.
Wow.
Yes, because I wanted a break.
Yeah.
The military is rough, and I like to say that cortisol is not cute, and I was stressed. So I took some time, and I have been able to do that because of the rental income that I have, the Airbnb income that I have, the fact that I don't pay those mortgages. I have a coaching business that I use to coach on the side and help nurses to lead the bedside as well. And I have an online blue light glasses company called UV. I'm gonna send y'all some.
I was looking like my ring light is all. I was thinking, what kind of light does she have? Because she don't have this ring on her.
Well, I also don't have my ring. So these are blue light glasses for healthcare. Shop Uvia, shopuvia.com. UVEA. And so I started that while I was in CRNA school. So when I tell you I have a strong, like, I don't care what you say, I can do it anyway, bone in my body, like, I will do it. Oh, you can't start that business while you're in CRNA school. You shouldn't buy that house while you're in CRNA school. You don't know me, baby.
Right.
I can do anything. So life looks like that.
So are you, okay, so I know you mentioned that you have a $1,400 a week assignment that you're doing, which for nurses, that sounds amazing. But I know for y'all level, it's not maybe the best. But,
people looked at me crazy when I told them that.
But it must be rewarding to be able to make decisions off of your purpose and what feels good, and not just have to get what they throw at you, right? I think that is more than money can even buy when you're able to do that. But when it comes to your short-term rentals and, all these other things, is that what is included? Like, are you helping other nurses to learn how to do short-term rentals? And what's the money like in short-term rentals anyway? I don't have a short-term rental, so it's...
Yeah. So short-term rentals, and if you ask most people, like the billionaires, where they make their money, it's real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier, I'm copying them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a billionaire in my family, so you're in my family now, Warren Buffett. I'm
Right.
copying you. So, I have taken tons of courses. I've paid a lot of people to, I had a lot of mentors. I've spent like I added it up, $65,000 the last 2 years on coaching and mentoring. Mm-hmm. And I have now taken the best parts of what I've learned, my experiences, mm-hmm. and have put them into either courses or private mentoring or group mentoring. Mm-hmm. So I put together a nurse Airbnb course, and I literally coach you through starting an Airbnb or short-term rental using Airbnb, Lodgify, Furnish Finder. I got way more resources in there because it doesn't just have to be Airbnb. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I get into in the course. But I teach you how to find a place, whether you own it or not, get it under contract, and how to design it, how to furnish it, how to pick your customers that stay with you. Because a lot of people think, oh, well, how can I charge? I charge $400 a night for my Vegas property at the least.
I remember your post about that, and that was during the time where they were saying you couldn't even get an Airbnb in Vegas. Because I looked at that when they were building the stadium at the beginning, and they was like, they were hurrying up trying to crack down on people, but you were still able to get
right. And so talk about strategy. I had 6 places I could choose with the Air Force, and Vegas was one of them. And I was like, well, what's the real estate looking like in all these places? And Vegas was the best one. I looked at the city plans. They had the stadium going in, and I was like, oh yeah, for sure. And so I teach you how to make a legal Airbnb because you have to look at the laws. My Airbnb in Las Vegas is legal, mm-hmm. everyone. Mm-hmm. You need a short-term rental license. It's a business license for that one. And they make you jump through hoops because it's the hotels out there. The hotel industry is dominating. Yeah. But when people are like, oh, it's dead, Airbnb's dead, and da-da-da, I'm like, you don't have one. You must not have an Airbnb because I can easily pull in $5,000 a month just renting my home on the weekends, charging $400 a night, and other things that I include in my bonus section of the course, how to upcharge and things you can include to make your business more profitable. So short-term rentals completely changed my life. That's actually where I started. Mm-hmm. I bought a home in Vegas with the intention of short-term rentals because I was going to be living there. And when I made my first $5,000 and covered my mortgage and had that left, I was like, oh, this is it. Yeah. And so that's when it really clicked for me with real estate, because people need a place to lay their heads. Yeah. People need a place to sleep. Yeah. And if I'm there, someone else is going to have to be there. Mm-hmm. And the nursing I heard in Las Vegas is trash. And so renting out to nurses is also really helpful in Las Vegas too. Yeah. Because I have pivot points. And I teach you that in my short-term rental class too. Like, it's not just about Airbnb, which most of it is, but I teach you other platforms to use and what you can do in the winter months if you don't want to deal with tenants. Mm-hmm. And because I structure everything, calendar, winter months, I'm not touching it. I don't deal with a bunch of people. So I put a longer midterm person over the holidays. Yeah. I'm giving y'all some of the tea. That's what I do. And then when the new year comes up, I'm back to short-term rentals. Yeah.
So needless to say,
so that's just
you recommend Airbnb still. You still, when people say you recommend that for nurses.
I recommend Airbnb as long as you have a plan and you have a strategy to make a certain amount of money a night, because people don't plan well. They say, oh, I'm going to do Airbnb. And they say, I'm going to make this amount of money. And you did not do your research. You didn't research why people are coming into this city. You didn't look up the laws that say you actually can't operate your Airbnb like that. Mm-hmm. You can't operate it from here or and so they get into a spot and they're like, oh, damn, I can't. Mm-hmm. And so they bought a house that they can't utilize. They don't know how to run real estate rentals, period. Mm-hmm. And they're in trouble. And so then what do? Yeah. They end up having to sell their home, take it as a loss. It ends up, I could talk about this all day, floods the market, the local market where they are, drops prices, and you have this cycle. Now, if you choose properly, you choose a Las Vegas, or you choose in Austin, or you choose in LA, you don't really have to worry about all that. Yeah. Because people are always traveling there.
Yeah.
That's another story for another day.
No, but that's good though, because I know it's a sexy word right now. You know, Airbnb, Turo, you hear about arbitrage, you hear about it all the time. And it's I've heard some people out there coaching on it, and that has not been very good, you know, of course. And
it bugs me.
Right, because this is what you do. So it's like, it can affect your business too, because people will think we all are all the same. I feel the same way in my space too. But it's good to know it's still something that is viable and that nurses can get into, especially if they don't want to necessarily get into aesthetics or, you know, something like that. They can get into real estate.
And aside from short-term rentals, real estate really is the crux of it all. Owning land, owning a piece of property that can increase in value. And you can hear this all over the internet. Nothing that I'm saying right now is new. But when you buy something and you can leverage it to generate income, it's now an asset. Right. Your homes that you probably bought or live in, if you have one, if you refinance that or get a HELOC and can take money out of it and then go buy another apartment building or a fourplex or a duplex, you have now turned your home into an asset. That's really what it is about for me. Yeah. And again, if you ask most people who are millionaires what they do, or if they have any real estate as part of their strategy, a lot of them will say yes. So that's what I'm mostly spending my time doing in 2023. In my network, the Ditch to Bedside network. I'm coaching nurses to go from not understanding real estate at all, putting a team together to help them find a real estate where they are, fixing their credit score, finding homes, being able to renovate it, or finding a team to renovate, or investing from your phone, not having to buy a home.
I love that.
Investing in a real estate investment trusts. I'm just flooding my network with all of this knowledge so that people can pick and choose, you know, what they want. And so that's my main, my goal for 2023 is to just get people into real estate who are interested in it.
I love it. I love it. That's amazing. Oh, that's so good. Okay, so we like to leave with some kind of homework assignment, and I feel like real estate is your zhuzh. So I want to know, and I want you to give some advice to nurses who are just like done, like they're tired. 2023 cannot be like 2022. This is what they're saying to themselves. They're like, I am tired, especially with all the you know, things that's going on social media with nursing, and people are just feeling so unappreciated. And that's a whole nother topic. So what are some actionable steps that they can take right now if they're interested in starting in real estate or, you know, doing short-term rental?
So number one is to tell yourself that you can do it and that you can change your circumstances and truly believe it. That's number one. Number two is to look at the current state of your finances. If we run away from what things are, you are not even going to be able to get a handle on what you can do. So check your credit score. Check the areas that are lacking. That's number two. Have a little bit of a cushion. Maybe just Number three, have a cushion. If it's just 1 month's rent, just something that gives you a little breathing room. They say 3 months, but some people might not be able to do that. Number four, and this is what I would have done if I knew what I knew now at 23 years old. I would have found a home, a multi-unit of some sort, a duplex, triplex, quadplex, and I know it sounds very scary. But I would have found one of those, and I would have taken out an FHA loan. An FHA, if it needs to be fixed up, an FHA 203, a renovation home loan through the FHA. I think those are the numbers. I'm kind of tired. So a renovation loan. And I would get that under contract. You find a contractor, renovate it. Personally, probably find something that's turnkey, and I would pay what I call it is, there would be a fee. So you'd be paying top dollar, for the home that's already renovated, a turnkey home. I would find something that I didn't have to do much to. So let's say someone put up a duplex, a new duplex. I'd buy it. Forget the noise. Oh, it's too much, the market. I would buy it right now. And I would live in one unit and rent out the other one.
Yeah.
If I didn't do another thing after that, you live in that home forever if you wanted to. But you now have just dramatically reduced your living expenses because you are sharing your mortgage with somebody. So I would have done that, and I would have did it near my nursing school. And I would hang up signs in my nursing school cafeteria or where we heat up our food in the microwave, and I would say nurse or house for rent. And I would do that once. And if I never did anything at the end, I would just get my housing paid for that way. Yeah, so that's what I would do.
I love that. And there are some programs out here in California one is called NACA. I don't know if I think it's nationwide, right?
NACA.
It is.
And I wish I knew. I actually met a young lady. She's an LVN. She actually went through NACA and got a fourplex, stayed in one. After about a year, her complete mortgage was paid for. And then there's gentrification going on in her neighborhood now. So now she's literally paying for her new house and the mortgage on that place just off of her rent. And I'm like, dude, that was...
And that's all. And I just wish I knew that.
Yeah.
And if you couldn't do any of that, if you are scared to do that, and I get it, join a network. And I'm a plug mine in right now. Yes. Join the Ditch the Bedside network.
Yes.
Ditch the Bedside network. You can find it on my Instagram. I will walk you through everything. I have people who come in. I want to have you come on there eventually.
Yeah.
I have people who come in and talk about their industries.
Yeah.
I've had someone start a restaurant and they're coming in to speak next month.
Yes.
Someone who does syndication deals in real estate. Like, it's not just about real estate. I have people come in and talk about stocks, whole life insurance, just to get the knowledge. If that's one thing you do is start, pay people for their knowledge.
Yes.
Stop being afraid to pay people for the time they have spent learning. Because one thing that other people do, and I will say this very quickly, outside the nursing community, is they pay to get in rooms, they pay for someone else's knowledge, they pay for mentorship, they internship. I can't tell you how many times I did things for free just to be up around somebody who knew what I wanted to know. What do you want me to do? File what? Plant where? And I didn't pay a dime. And just going back to, you said something about the nursing field and finances. Medical school, they have courses and classes that teach them how to spend their money and what to do when they get their money. Raise your hand here if you had a finance class in your nursing school. Not a one. Right. So that's what I'm also, my doctorate, I'm trying to be up in somebody's school and be somebody's teacher, teaching about finances. Knock on wood. Because we don't have it.
No, we don't.
So
we don't.
That answers your question. Like, why are nurses? It's not programmed in us to do that. It's programmed to go to a hospital, take orders.
That's it.
So
that's it.
We have to start being the ones that do differently. And we are. We're doing this.
Yes. So where can everyone reach you? First of all, let's talk about your programs. We know you have Ditch the Bedside. Now, can you just give us a good little overview of that, and then any of the other programs or, digital products or whatever you have that can help the people?
So Ditch the Bedside, relatively new. I changed all the other names and have focused into Ditch the Bedside. You can rewind this podcast and what Ditch the Bedside means to me. It's really about creating space between you and the bedside, however you choose to do it, but being mindful of your future and what that looks like. And not having to depend on shift work, overtime work, and having to call your manager to ask for time off. And so that network in itself is on Mighty Networks. I love the platform. We have monthly sessions. I do weekly check-ins, one-on-one, with the entire network. You have to pay
I was
for
like,
one.
what?
Sorry, my time's valuable. Yeah. No.
Right.
But we do like a coaching call.
That's good.
For, weekly where we show up and work together. Right.
Yeah, that's good.
And then a monthly session. I also bring investment deals in there now. So I just started something called Ancestors Capital. You'll be hearing about that soon. And so then I have courses that are recorded. So I nurse Airbnb builder course. I have another course launching, which is a amalgamation of some of the alignment work that I do. So getting you where you are as a nurse to creating a strategic plan, like long-term plan for where you want to be. So envisioning what that looks like and reverse engineering where you can start and what steps to take. And that's called the Align Hive membership. And that's like a 6-month deal. It's a cohort that we work very closely together. I don't take more than 5 anymore. Just so that we can really work, and we're working on a project together. Like,
and
I'm showing you the behind the scenes. Yeah, Align Hive. It's like a hive,
I like that.
Shout out to B.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's all of those things are through my website. So AishaAllen.com is where you can find that. AISHA Allen, ALLEN.com.
Okay.
You can see all my courses. I have a CRNA prep course. If CRNA is the route for you and you just want more information and you want to see what you can make, what we do, how to apply, how to interview, I have a prep course for that. My whole goal though is just really to help nurses to reach their ikigai, and to love more of the life that they're living and not have to subject themselves to rude, this coworker, Kathy, Karen, whoever, and just live their best life.
Violence,
physical,
family, charge
all of that.
nurses.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. And we serve the community. We serve the community every day we wake up. Every day we step foot in our job, we serve other people.
Yeah.
Why on earth do we not believe that we deserve anything? So that's why I also like working with nurses, because we have that part of our, I want to help the world. We have that. We do it every day.
Yeah.
So move on. Now help ourselves.
That's and it's funny how, and then we're going to close out because I know I can keep talking, but it's just funny how healthcare is a business, but for some reason nurses are supposed to be giving up everything.
My God.
And nothing else needs to be said. Snaps.
Listen, Aisha, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
Christal,
thank you.
Go ahead. You wanted to add something?
Yes, it's been a wonderful episode. Thank you so much for joining us. And follow her, you guys. Check out everything that she has to offer if you're looking into real estate.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, you can follow me on IG.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Follow me on IG. Let me tell y'all. Follow me on IG, Aisha_CRNA. And all my links are in that bio, so follow me there.
Yes. Are you on TikTok yet?
I am on TikTok, Aisha_CRNA. Okay. I'm hitting my little dance moves.
Yeah. So is TikTok your more like just whatever goes type of thing? And then,
it's whatever goes. It's fun. I'm going to be having some way different updates on that platform because I'm making some moves, y'all. Like, follow me so you can see what's coming.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Allen, for joining us today and for giving us all the tea. You guys, as we say always, it is time to make the shift. We are hoping that all of our guests, they are adding value to you. You're bringing other people in so that they can get some of this value. But more importantly, that you're making decisions that prioritize your mental, physical, and emotional health. It's your girl, Dr. Kiiyonna Jones.
Bye, and it's Christal. It's Christal.
All right, you guys. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.